G'day, Steve Morgan. Australian Bass Tournament's just finished the Blue Rock round, which was sponsored by Eco Gear, of the 2022 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series. A couple of Queenslanders here made the long trip down to do it. Matty Langford wins the event with an absolutely cracking bag on day 2. What did the bag go, mate? Over 5 kilos, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. I was pretty happy just to try and get something I got yesterday, but yeah, it's a pretty good bag.
Coming into finishing day 1 of the event, there was 3 or 4 anglers around that sort of 2 to 2.5 kilo mark. In reality, it was only ever going to be one big fish that's going to put someone ahead of the pack, and luckily you caught 2 of those things.
Yeah, I just stumbled across the magic tree, and yeah, they were big ones, and sometimes that happens. I'm glad it happened today.
Blue Rock Lake, full of little fish between 10 and say 25 centimetres. Mm-hmm. Those 30 centimetre class fish were a little bit more difficult to find, and then of course those 40 centimetre plus fish that made the difference. They're the unicorns in this joint, aren't they?
Yeah, so I heard. I told a mate who lives down here how big it was, and he said, "I don't think I've heard of a 50 tip bass come out of here before, but it was a 47 forker. So yeah, it was good to catch today."
That 47 centimetre fork length bass gives Matty the Buck and Big Bass, sponsored by Buck and Bass. It's $500 and a little bit more Buck and Bass gear. You're rocking the Buck and Bass hat now, mate, and good to see the guys get on board to sponsor the big fish.
Yeah, it's really good. The Buck and Bass gear I wear all the time, and I said to you earlier I'd love to get a new hat, so I'm glad I got one.
Now, you found the magic tree, but you had a 2-pronged approach to it. I want you to run through the 2 outfits and the strategy you used to turn fish you could see on the live scope into fish that were on the scoreboard.
Yeah, so I guess yesterday I found it was a really bushy tree up along a steep bank, and I did the same thing yesterday. I gulped a couple, but the spoon sort of caught more of them yesterday. But
not a spoon like Somerset guys would use.
No, it's a bit different. Joey Allen from Frogley's Offshore got me onto these. They're I think they're a jig para. They're only a 7-gram spoon, and they look. If you research what a smelt looks like, they look identical to a smelt. Yep. And pre-fish day, I sort of worked out that they were eating smelt, so it was either small plastics or this spoon. And I was just running it on a Millerod's Vibe Freak, and I'd see the fish, I'd drop down to them and just do really sharp jolting hops in front of their nose, and I found that the smaller legal guys, like between sort of 27 and 30, were eating it, and and then as soon as I saw bigger fish come across, then I'd drop down the gulp, which is on the Jig Freak.
You just read that?
No. It's on this side. Yeah, Ian Miller made me this rod a long time ago, specifically for gulping when I first started bass fishing, and it's been used a few times. But I'm not a huge fan of gulping. But I did find this weekend that the gulps were definitely catching the fish, and especially today, it was perfect. It's really good low down. Plenty of butt strength, but it's really tippy and really flexy. So as soon as the fish eats the gulp coming up really slow, you can feel them grab it, and you see the tip load, and then you just basically set the hook. So yeah, really good rod.
If people don't know what gulping is, you've got a little black jig head on there. Is that one of the Bassman jig heads?
So that's a 1/4 ounce Bassman jig head, and I just used a black 3-inch Berkeley minnow gulp.
Yep, and they're the ones that it's all about the slowness of the technique. Is it? You don't rip it up from the bottom.
No. Years ago, I fished with a couple of the guys at Glenbourne, and they said when you wind slow, go even slower than slow. Yep. So just trim the head, clip the tail, and wind it slow.
Now you're fresh off a near miss in the grand final last year. It was only a $60,000 miss. Don't worry about that. But you did win the 2021 Bass Pro Angler of the Year. You've got your campaign for 2022 off to the best ever start.
Yeah, no, it was good to. It's sort of hard going away from home, but me and my wife always talk about it, and she always said, if you do well for the first couple of comps, it takes a little bit of pressure off. But Angler of the Year is always something I sort of set my sights for, and to start off with a first and some good points, and you can't ask for much more than that.
There you go. He's a happy man. He's repping the Buck and Bass gear. He's repping the Millerods, all ABT sponsors, and of course he's repping the gigantic bass out of Blue Rock. I think that might not be hard to beat for years to come.
Yeah, I was surprised. We catch them fairly regularly at Somerset and that sort of stuff, but when coming to Victoria, it was a dream come true to catch one today.
There you go, Matty Langford leading the 2022 Angler of the Year now as well.